Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network.
This man in the saucer, can you describe him?
Well, sir, he was small and skinny. He had his head was pointed, came to a very sharp point. He had long green hair. His eyes were a sort of purplish red. He had large ears which were formed like an antenna. His teeth were perfect, but spread far apart. And I noticed, too, a jacket of some sort of spun glass and bright red metallic hues.
You say this all took place in a few seconds. Mr. Nagelschmidt, can you tell me what color tie I'm wearing?
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't notice.
You mean to say you can remember everything about this man from the spaceship, his hair, the color of his eyes, the clothing he was wearing, and yet, after all this time, you can't tell me the color of my tie?
But you didn't come out of a flying saucer.
Hello, this is Ronald Kinsella, and you're listening to the Paranormal UK radio network, the UK's biggest paranormal network, and this is Paranormal Dimensions with David Young.
Hello and welcome to another show. Thank you for that introduction, Ronald. Now, today's guest is a lady named Erin Montgomery. Now, Erin has had some very traumatic experiences in her life, which we're going to hear all about. But before that, I'd like to say thank you for the messages I've had coming in. I won't read anything out today. I've got some interesting shows coming up towards the end of the year, and a couple of very interesting New Year shows. Now, in January, I'll be taking 3 weeks off, just to let you know, just in case anyone does follow this show regularly, because I'm moving home, in a week or so. But I'm planning a good schedule for next year, so hopefully you'll stay with me, anyone who's a regular listener. If you're a new listener, hope you'll enjoy some of the shows that are coming along. Okay, now some experiences in life can leave an impression that affects a person on such a deep level that they are forever changed. Some people have these life-changing experiences over and over again, and sometimes these experiences cause problems in their lives, like difficulty sleeping, feelings of panic, seemingly irrational fears, and even believing they may be going crazy. Erin Montgomery is such a person, and with her training in the counselling field, has been able to unravel some of the mysteries in her own life that have contributed to post-traumatic stress disorder. So, I think you're going to find Erin's a very interesting guest, and I'd like to introduce her now. Hello, Erin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure. We're going to have a little bit of talk about where you are, because you're in Roswell, aren't you, New Mexico? Well, not at the moment. I know you're not talking to me from there now, but you do live in Roswell, which is an interesting town.
Yeah, it is a very interesting town, and not a place that I ever expected that I would end up. And I've been there for about 20 years now.
Oh, right. So you weren't actually born there or anything. But of course, we've got the famous Roswell case going back to the late 40s. What's your opinion of that? Well, we might as well just cover that for a little bit, seeing as you live there.
Right, yeah, might as well. As far as I can tell, having explored some of the sites and the areas where the crashes were and things like that, and hearing the locals talk, and people that were witnesses to the debris and things like that. It really does sound like something happened that was not like a weather balloon, like they said, and it certainly wasn't those dummies that they released. They said that there were test dummies being used.
Yeah. I mean, that was about 10 years later, wasn't it? That, so I understand it.
Exactly.
You know, they've changed the story as they've gone along, so that's what makes it even more suspicious.
Exactly. Yeah. From what I can tell, something really did happen. I know several people whose, families were part of the cleanup crew or were stationed there.
Oh, really?
And,
right.
So it's interesting living there, being, having the experiences that I have and ending up there for such a long time and just really being steeped in the mystery of it. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Like I say, you've got a fantastic little museum in Roswell, which I've had the pleasure of being, sort of visiting myself. I imagine you've had a few visits there yourself.
Many. Yep.
Yeah, I think I stayed in the Motel 6, which was just along the street from the museum.
Right. We actually have so many hotels in the town to accommodate the UFO festival that we have every summer.
Yeah, I think the one I was in, it had green aliens outside of it, but...
Yep. I think there's green aliens outside of every building.
Yeah, there is. I remember one storefront just along the street from the museum. I was quite struck to see a bullet hole in the window.
Well, that's the other side of Roswell that people don't like to talk about. It's in the very violent town.
It is a right.
Yes.
Is it really?
Yes, it's a very violent town. The murder rate is just phenomenal for such a small place.
Oh, I didn't realise that. So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we won't go too far down that road anyway.
That's not a fun thing to talk about.
Anyway, I guess we better talk about your book, first of all. It's called Dirty Little Secret. Now, for our listeners, it doesn't mean that what you're thinking at all. It's Confessions of an Alien Contactee.
That's right.
Would you like to tell us how you came about that title? I mean, I can kind of see how you come about it, because it's obviously something you kept secret.
Right. It is something that I kept secret. This is not, when you are a contactee for, your entire life and you try to mingle in with normal humans, so to speak, it's not something that you want to advertise. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to be seen as crazy. And so it was kind of like a burden and something that I had to hide and keep secret from people, I thought, for a long time. And it wasn't until many years later when I realized that I really do need to tell the story and I really need to get it out. And I was having pressure, which sounds funny, but there was a lot of pressure from the ETs to actually get the story out. You need to write this, you need to do this. And I had gathered everything that I needed to do it. But it took me several years to say, fine, I will do this. And so the title, Dirty Little Secret, was chosen on purpose to, be a little bit tongue-in-cheek and get people's attention, but it really did feel like that. Especially as I work in the mental health field, so does a mental health worker need to be crazy? I mean, would anybody go and see a therapist? I was as crazy as they felt they were, and so I was really trying to come to grips with this at the time of writing it, thinking, I could lose my job. I could lose my job if I come out with this, but I don't have a choice either. I needed to tell my truth.
And did it endanger your job at all?
Not at all. In fact, I've been embraced by everybody at work. My supervisor has told me that not only am I not the craziest person on staff, but I'd have to be really, really far out there to stand out in a conference or something for mental health workers. And as far as he can tell, I'm pretty darn stable, and I feel stable. I may have a crazy story and really strange experiences, but that doesn't mean that I have a few, screws loose or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, people get to know you, they know what you are, and even if you come out with crazy stories, they know that you're probably telling the truth, don't they? When people know you well enough. But right. Oh, are you going to tell us a bit about it? Where did it all start? What type of ETs were they, and all that type of thing?
Well, I didn't start to have memories of what was happening until I was 19, 20. something like that. Then memory started to percolate back into, my consciousness. However, it appears that contact started when I was very, very little. The earliest memory I have is about 4 years old, being on ship. And through the years, I've had contact with many, many different kinds of ET beings. What we call the typical gray. I've seen like very small gray-looking aliens with very large heads, very childlike and gentle and kind, and the most loving creatures I've ever come across in my entire life were those very small, maybe 3 feet tall, maybe not,
right.
Very tiny. I have had contact with the mantids, and those were very scary to me when I was little. And then I have seen and worked with what I would call tall white beings. I've seen taller gray beings. I've seen a being that was like a crayon that was melting, or like a candle that was starting to melt. He was just drippy and strange. I've never seen but once that kind of being, and I've never heard anybody else talk about a being that looked like that.
That's a new one on me as well.
Right, yeah, I have yet to see that mentioned anywhere else. I have the most recent ET being that I've seen was fully shrouded in a black shroud, like face covered in everything, and it was a very, very tall being, maybe 7-8 feet tall, maybe taller, and just feeling this sense of awe, and it was just a flash. So I don't know what happened. So yeah, all sorts of beings I have worked with.
So do they all work together, or are they working against each other, or what?
I have oftentimes seen different species all at once, and working together as a team, or on the same ship, or in the same location. What I have experienced is, I have very, very positive and loving experiences. Then I have experiences that are scary, but not necessarily bad. And then I have these awful, awful experiences that are a mix of, like the taller gray aliens and humans, military type of experiences. And those I set to the side. Those are awful and horrible and painful, experiences that I have had. But in general, most of what I experience is benign, maybe confusing.
So the two different types of grey you mentioned, you talked about the small 3 foot tall ones. Now, are they the same as the taller grey ones, or of a different species? I call it species as as for a want of a better term, really.
Right, exactly. We often lack the vocabulary on how to explain these things because they are so, alien to us. Just the concept of these different beings. I don't know. The honest answer is I don't know where they come from. I don't know exactly what they want. I don't know if there's different types of the same species that I'm seeing, and some are tall, some are short. Like if you think of birds here on Earth, the females are drab and boring and the males are colorful. I don't know.
Yeah, it's usually the way, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that translates into wherever they are from. It's really hard to tell.
Right. So
I wish I had some of those answers.
So when they communicate with you, what do they sort of want? What do they expect from you, or what do you expect from them? I suppose is more to the point.
Well, oftentimes I am, what they want from me, as far as I can tell, is DNA.
Right.
I am part of what they call that hybrid breeding program. I have carried children. I know that children have been birthed. I know that they are on ship or in another dimension, wherever. They're not here. They're not with me. But I know they exist. And so I know that is a major part of the reasons why I have contact. However, at the same time, they have taken the time to teach me things such as interdimensional travel, how to access the chakra points and work with energy as far as, within myself and helping others with their energy through healings and things like that. They have taught me like an understanding of soul. And it's interesting because I know I'm not the only person who has received the same information. So, I've had some confirmation in other places that I'm not the only person receiving this information. I didn't just make it up. In other words, like, oh my gosh, that's exactly the point that whatever it was, the reaction that I had when I heard somebody else had said the same thing. It's an understanding of the multidimensionality of self. Basically, we exist in many different places all at once. People tend to think of them as past lives, but in my understanding, and I think that this comes directly from them, is there is no time. Right. And so therefore all lives are happening all at once. We have access to all of these selves and we can communicate together, which is really, really fascinating. So even though I'm being, harvested for the DNA, they have bestowed upon me a lot of information at the same time. So it's really an interesting give and take.
I see, yeah. How many different types of ship have you been on, do you think?
That's a good question. I'm not even sure. I have only seen 2 ships in reference to abduction experiences because of regression. So through hypnotic regression, I was able to see the ship and describe the ship, and they were the saucer shaped, the disc shaped, with like a hole in the bottom, with the light coming down at both times. However, there's I have recurring dreams and things of ships looking in a particular way, so it makes me wonder, what have I seen and I'm trying to access during dream time, with lights and lots of colored lights. But I don't know. Most of what happens to me, I'm asleep and either I'm woken up or or I come to and I have marks, whatever it is. I do not often have experiences where I'm outside and something happens, if that makes sense.
I see, yeah, it does. So, do they actually physically take you, or do you think they take like your soul they take, or your spirit, or whatever you want to call it? Or is it both?
I think it's like all of the above.
Yeah.
Kind of way. It's I'm at that point where I'm trying to figure this out. Like, is it astral? Is it physical? Am I just dreaming? Well, I know that it's really happening, but what does the dream state have to do with it? I do tend towards thinking on an astral level or soul level experience, often because of how exhausted I am in the morning. Because if I was asleep and I was dreaming, I'd be rested. Right?
Yeah.
That's not what happens. That's not what happens. You wake up feeling like you got hit by a truck, or you just did not sleep at all, or you got sick in the night or something. You wake up feeling awful, and oftentimes have to take the next day to rest. Which is really awkward when you have a job and you have to call in sick because you were abducted, It makes it awkward, and especially if they don't know what's going on and you're just trying to maintain a status quo, like, I just don't feel very good, so I'm not going to be in today.
Yeah. Maybe that's my problem, is that when I wake up feeling rough, perhaps that's where I've been too, I don't know. I can never remember my dreams or anything.
Very well could be. And you just, oftentimes you wake up feeling dehydrated, like, do you have a hangover? You've been, like, out partying, drinking all night, and you haven't. The thing that is confusing to me is oftentimes you have the marks, you'll have bruises, you'll have like needle marks, you'll have scrapes, cuts, scratches, all these things that were not there when you went to sleep. So it does make you think this has to be physical.
Indeed. Do you think you might have, would you have been given implants, do you know about, or think you may have been?
I do believe so. In the first regression that I had, I was working with Yvonne Smith, who is pretty well known for her hypnotic regressions. And she regressed me to a time when I was about 7 years old, and I I was taken into a room that had what looked like a dentist chair, and I was put in, which I hate the dentist, and I understand why.
Well, don't we all?
Yeah, and I just, I don't want to be in that chair. Anyways, so I was taken into this room, strapped into this chair, and a mantid-type creature came in, and he is the one that put an implant into the roof of my mouth, and it looked like gelatinous or, biological. I don't know if it was a casing. I don't know if this would have been, early 80s, I guess, in our timeline. If they had changed the way they were doing implants or that, I don't know, but it looked biological, and that was what was inserted into the roof of my mouth. When I came out of the hypnosis, she told me that she has heard that same sort of story two times before, and I had described the tool that they used, so it was further confirmation to me that I'm not the only one that has experienced the exact same thing. An implant into the roof of the mouth with this strange two-pronged fork device. Yeah. Wow.
And you've mentioned marks. You've often woken up with marks on your body?
Oftentimes, and the most disturbing are the fingerprints on the inner thighs, because then I know what's been going on. That's always tough. Yeah, and it's always 3. There'll be 3 on one side or 3 on the other side, or sometimes both. Those can be disturbing. I've had like marks on my wrist where it looks like I've been grabbed by hand. And then just bizarre bruises across my knees. It looked like there was a strap, like there was like a bruise above and a bruise below on both knees, like there had been a strap across, they matched. I don't know, things like that.
So that would obviously point to a physical removal or abduction, wouldn't it?
Right,
by the sound
exactly.
of it, yeah. So, I mean, would you have any recollections of what the insides of the ships were like? Do you have any memories of them?
I do. They're the ships that I remember, and again, mostly from regression, is a very sterile environment. The rooms that and hallways and everything that I remember are very round, often metallic looking. Some of the rooms are colored, like there'll be different colors. It's sort of just emanating from, I don't see light fixtures or anything, but I've been in a room that was red. The light seemed red, and I've been in a room where the light seemed more pink, and I've been in a room where the light was blue. And oftentimes this weird dark emanation from the floor. It looks almost like fog, but it's dark. I've seen that a lot. The room with the dentist chair when I was little looked very much like a dentist office. There were counters, there were cabinets, there was tools that, looked very much like a place where a doctor would be working.
Yeah, those descriptions you gave, I've heard those types of descriptions before as well, strangely. With the sort of a lot of luminescent rooms and lighting and everything. Yeah, it's interesting. Have you ever had any contact or seen any reptilians? Because we do hear a lot about those, and they're supposed to be very scary and everything.
I don't. I did have just a few months ago, I was driving home from work and saw an interesting creature like peeking over the fence, and I drew it down real quick, and it looked like a Komodo dragon. Right. But other than that, just a quick flash out of my mind and, blink and there's nothing there type of experience. No, I have not. I have not, that I am aware of, had any contact.
Right. Yeah, because they're supposed to live on our fear, aren't they? So I understand it. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not psychic or anything, and I'm not able to see these things, but I have spoken to people that have seen these type of beings. But, I just wondered if you'd come across them.
Right. No. Thank goodness. out of all of the creatures that I have experienced, the most absolute terrifying ones were the humans, and that kind of says a little bit there.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it does. So would you think that are all of these extraterrestrial, or are they interdimensional? Because that's a very interesting thing that I think about, because I mean that's why I called this show Paranormal Dimensions, because I think a lot of what goes on is actually interdimensional rather than extraterrestrial, although I do believe we get visitors as well. But what's your outlook on that?
My outlook is very similar to yours. To me, this is all about dimensions. This is traveling to different dimensions, and it could, like you said, they could be from another place here in this particular dimension, but it could be a similar dimension far away again. I don't know. It makes it hard. And the fact that they have taught me about dimensional travel leads me down that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, it does me. That's the way I think of it anyway, because I think it's all mixed anyway. Like you say, there's no such thing as time.
Right.
So,
and I'm not necessarily sure there's such a thing as space either at this point.
Yeah, I mean, but we do look out and see the stars and everything. So I suppose we call that space, don't we? So, but then again,
right.
Are we looking at an atomic structure? Are we part of an atomic structure? But there you go. That's another another avenue. But so they taught you all about the chakra points as well, did they?
They did. They taught me about the different energy centers in the body, and they also taught me about how to manipulate gravity. Granted, I can't remember how to do it. so I through regression, I remember that being taught that on a ship as well, or in a different place. Whether it was a ship in the sky, a ship in a different dimension, I don't know. But yes, I think it's very interesting the things that I have been taught by these beings.
Right. Do you give classes to other people on what you've been taught?
I'm actually creating a class right now about like how to create boundaries as far as your energy goes. I'm thinking about doing something about chakras. I have a feeling that's the direction that I am going to be headed. Those sorts of things, as well as how to pick up on the communication of the universe. Universe talks to you all the time, but a lot of people don't recognize those things that are happening as a message. It could be as simple as a bird passing by the window, but what bird was it, and what does that meaning? What is the meaning of that? Who's telling you what right now? Everything that we perceive is a message from the universe.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah. All sorts of things I have going on in the future.
Yeah, it sounds like that's the sort of road you should go down, a little bit of passing that information on to me anyway. Mm-hmm. Oh, do you actually see UFOs much?
I do see them often. When I go outside and I'm looking at the stars, I will notice things that are different. Oftentimes they do just look like a star, and you'll think, oh, is that a satellite, as it's moving slowly across the sky, and then it will change direction. You're like, nope, you know what? Satellites don't do that. Satellites do not change orbit like that.
No, they don't.
Not just... And then there'll be times where I see that happen, and then I'll say, hey, go east, and it will go east, and then I can say go north, and it will go north. And so there's an interaction between myself and whatever it is that I am seeing up in the sky. And I've had witnesses with me when that happens, and getting excited, do it again, tell them to go east, and just. Yeah.
Well, the strange thing is that's not the first time I've heard that either. For other people, I've heard that they do seem to have some sort of a mental contact with particular people on this planet. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that we as experiencers who go through these things, I do believe that we are able to communicate very easily with these beings.
Do they ever give you any physical evidence? What I mean is like an item or something to keep, as kind of evidence, or would that not be allowed?
I wish. I do not have it yet. I've had people asking me like, well, what's the purpose and why are you doing this and why don't you remember when you get back? I don't know. I don't have a clue. Well, then why don't you take a notebook? Like, that's a good point. I should take a notebook. And so I've been trying to remember to do that, but it's very hard, and I don't necessarily understand the state that they put me in at the point that I'm taking, even if I'm that cognitive to be able to do that, or if I raise in vibration and I'm thinking on a much higher level, that just doesn't translate back into our 3D reality. I don't know. But boy, wouldn't it be cool to have something?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the way they communicate, do you say it's like telepathy, or is it actually by sound, or is it both?
No, it's for me, it's all telepathic. I don't think I've ever heard them, besides that strange clicking sound that some people talk about. I've heard the clicking sounds. But I don't understand what's being said like that. But I receive words, I receive images, and things like that. Yeah.
Right, like a psychic image type of thing. Is that what you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, talking about psychic, do you actually believe in ghosts and things like that, or because I think there's a connection between a lot of that. I couldn't see it years ago, but I think I can see connections with most paranormal things now. That a lot of them actually do collide with each other.
I completely agree with that. I couldn't tell you why, but
no, I couldn't either.
I know. Yeah, as far as I know, if you were a contactee, if you were exposed to these kinds of things, and it expands your mind so that you can perceive so much more, because I know myself and many, many other people that I know that are contactees, not only can we hear with our ears, but we can hear spirit. We can, see with our eyes, we receive visions. We are beyond the normal five senses in our way of perception. If there's an entity that walks into a room, I can feel the shift in energy, and things like that. And so, to me, ghosts, spirits, all sorts of interdimensional beings, they're here, they're all around us all the time, and I'm able to communicate and work with them.
Right.
It's just my normal everyday life. That may be crazy for some people, but for me, it's normal.
Right. So you never sort of got on paranormal investigations or anything like that?
Oh yeah.
You have.
I have, and I have some equipment at the house. It sounds creepy to a lot of people, but I have a camera in my bedroom, like an infrared type camera that will videotape everything that's happening in my room at night, and it will record when there's movement.
Right.
Oftentimes that's just me moving in the bed, but sometimes, most nights, I have some sort of activity happening. And so lately I've been trying to see if it will also make my K2 meter, which reads EMF energies. I have it on, but it hasn't changed. So whatever it is that's in my room is not using the electromagnetic frequencies.
Right. I've experienced that. I've got a K2 meter, and I was in a hotel in Scotland about a year ago, or just over a year ago now, in Carlisle. We went on a paranormal investigation. My K2 meter was just off, and I turned it on, and it went right up to red in my room. And I thought, well, there's something definitely here, isn't there? It was actually a room in a castle. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. But then it went off again. So what that was, I don't know. That's quite weird. That was. So I do know what you mean by that. But so you have your camera on every night, expecting, I presume, to try and catch whatever activity's going on.
Right, and that was my whole point. What's happening to me at night? Am I going to be able to catch myself disappearing? Am I physically leaving the bed?
Yeah.
Are there beings in the room? What I am capturing is nothing of the sort. I have not found myself missing in the bed at all. But I am nightly, I'll get these bright white, almost tubes darting around the room and making all sorts of loop-de-loops and things like that. I also get these odd squares that will fold and move through the room like you've dropped a tissue or a handkerchief. And sometimes it floats up. And then just last night I had this very strange W-shaped thing. It just looked like points of light with lines connecting them, almost like Cassiopeia, the constellation. Came out of the side of the bed and floated through the room. What is that? I don't know.
Right.
So that's where I'm at right now, is what are these things?
Have you had them?
Why are they around?
Have you had them looked at, by some sort of photographic experts, or?
No, because I don't know where to go.
Oh, I see.
But as soon as I figure it out, they've got tons of materials to go through.
Yeah, I would think.
I have so much.
I think probably someone on Facebook would probably be able to help you there. Probably if you asked around. But in fact, why don't you try the UFO museum itself? Someone might be able to help you down there.
Oh, that would be a good idea. Yeah, I had reached out to them when my book was first published, but nobody returned my call, so I just dropped it. But, with the pandemic and everything, I don't think they are open.
Oh, right. Yeah, because I think Donald Smith spends a lot of his time there, doesn't he? You know Don Smith? I
believe so. We're friends on Facebook.
Yeah, right. Well, he's been on this show probably over a year ago now.
Okay.
Yeah, he would probably be a good person to get in touch with about that, because he may well have a few other contacts to put you in touch with.
Yeah, you can do that.
I mean, talking about back to aliens again. We obviously you've obviously seen the show Ancient Aliens. Do you think that they were here thousands of years ago, helping us build these pyramids? Well, not us, obviously, but help us build the pyramids, and our ancestors helping them out with ancient technology?
I do believe that. I believe, too, that they probably helped create humans to be the way they are right now through DNA manipulation and things like that. Being the strange person that I am, I have a lot of memories of being different ET races and coming to Earth for different purposes throughout history. Such as the creation of humans. I do have some odd memories about that.
Oh, really?
I do. It's kind of, I'm trying to recall them now. It
sounds intriguing.
There's a lot of angst and hurt, I think, from myself at that point in time. It kind of meshes in the information about the Anunnaki, and then, the more biblical idea of the Watchers, and that's one thing that I've been working in my head. Like, how do I understand both these mythologies as the same? Just trying to figure it out in my mind. But I do know that I was very hurt because my partner decided to be with a human, and to me that was a complete betrayal. And so that's the memory I have from that point in time. But I also remember being in Ireland around like an interdimensional gate that had been unearthed and trying to protect it, which is interesting. I do believe that's near Newgrange, and I believe I died in a war at that place. So I have that as well.
So this is all like reincarnation type memories?
Correct, yeah, past life, but not as a human. But being on Earth, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. But you don't really remember many lives as such. I mean, I had someone on the show a couple of shows back, and she can remember 103 lives she'd had. And I believed her, but she was female in all of them. There's June Longren. I don't know if you've ever met her, June Longren.
No, I haven't. It would be fascinating. Past life work is something that is near and dear to me, because of, my understanding of the interdimensional nature and the multi-dimensional nature, I guess is a better way to put it, of soul. I do know a lot about these different lives and different selves that I have been or am currently. Right. Taking physics out of things, but so I have many, many different lifetime memories, as male and female. and non-human. I've got all sorts of memories that I've been gathering and pulling out and writing down for years.
Okay. So when you talk about the aliens taking your DNA, now how do they actually take this DNA? Is it by blood or flesh samples or what? Or do you not know?
I do know. It is by the creation of hybrid children. It is a fertility thing. You know, by taking my DNA, they're creating a child with, you know, my eggs and sperm from I don't even know what, but the caring of the children and the, you know, the birthing of children, and that is how they have my DNA. However, that having been said, I am, you know, I've got multi-generational contact. My grandparents were contactees. My dad and my aunt were contactees. Myself, my brother, and several cousins are contactees. Now my children are contactees, and so I know that the DNA is important. Otherwise, why are they following this line?
I see. So and I'm not. So you've all actually got together and obviously talked about it.
Yes, I have paid close attention to that. Of course, it didn't come to light and for me until after my grandparents had passed, but I have the stories that my aunt and my father have told me about their contact, and what they have experienced. And interestingly enough, my father just told me yesterday about a time where my grandmother was walking home. She had gone to the store or something, and she was walking home, and she had like blacked out and fell down. And as she was coming to and trying to get herself up on her hands and knees, she lifts her head, and she said that she told him that she was on a different planet. Like everything was completely barren. There were no trees, there were no buildings, there were no people, nothing. She knew she was in a different planet. And when he told me that, I'm like, oh wow, so she could dimension hop too, you know, just like I can. So I thought that was really fascinating when he told me about that yesterday. But yeah, so stories that my aunt has told me, stories that my father has told me, and then, you know, with my own experiences, I have reached out to all of my cousins saying, what do you remember? Have you had these experiences? Anything weird, and I have been able to gather the information from them, and then, you know, my brother has had some strange things happen. Then there's me, and then, you know, watching my children and knowing what is going on, and then now they will come and tell me if something strange has happened, or if they've got bruises, or...
Oh, it's fascinating. Is it a scary thing for them? Do they get scared by it?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. You know, my children are 25 and 20, and they oscillate between, you know, hey, we want to listen to your radio show, to we don't want to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it. I don't want to go there. Don't even say the word alien around me. I don't want to, you know, so, and I understand that because I've been there.
Yeah.
I have been there and have gone through the process of coming to terms with contact, and it took many years.
Yeah, something I really can't get my head around is why they collect our DNA. Why do they need to do that?
I don't know, but I can speculate, you know, and something to me tells me that there's either a degradation that is happening, in their DNA, and they need to have it infused, or there's something that humans have that they covet, whether it's our, you know, emotions, or whether it's our feelings of hope, or the capacity to love. I don't know what it is, but whatever, you know, just imparting part of that soul into a mixed being. I don't know. There's something very valuable to them in that. But yeah, I don't know the purpose, and I don't know the reason. I really wish I did.
Yeah. I find it strange because we even find our own governments trying to get our DNA off of us, don't we? And it kind of makes you wonder what the hell's going on.
Exactly, and the huge push of, you know, ancestry DNA and all of these, and my mother was so excited, and I spit in the tube, and now I'm like, I don't know if I want them to know that. but it's too late now.
Yeah.
Too late now. They've got it.
But going back to like astral travel, that was something that really interested me when I was younger. I did try it a few times. But do you actually physically try to do astral travelling? You know, like actually try to turn it on yourself?
I do, because I work, I call myself a shaman because I don't have any other terms for it, but I will do, energetic healings and things like that, but I put myself into a trance state so I can travel. It's like I can separate myself out at that point, and then go where I need to go and do what I need to do, whether it's, in a different realm or just into their minds, whatever it is I'm trying to do. So yes, I do purposely do astral travel. However, it also happens accidentally, or at night when I'm trying to sleep. If there's something that my higher self thinks it needs to do, then off I go and do work. I use the work and you put quotes around it. I'm working. And that's when I will wake up completely exhausted.
Right. And do you get many memories from it? Do you see things that you couldn't have seen otherwise, if you see what I mean? Like things on top of cupboards or whatever, unless you were sort of out of your body.
No, not necessarily. But when I do that kind of travel, the details of what I am experiencing are so vivid, down to taste. I mean, when you're doing a normal dream time, you're not going to be tasting things. Case in point, there was a time where I was in the ocean with a creature. I don't remember what they looked like. I just remember them talking to me, and they took me to like a shipwreck, and I was able to taste the metal in the water as the metal was degrading. I could taste it. It was like it was coming through my skin. I was tasting through my skin. I don't know how you do that, but that's what I was doing. And then they took me to where there was plastic, the huge islands of plastic that are floating out in the middle of the Atlantic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was in that water, and again, I could taste the plastic through my skin. It was a very interesting experience. I'm not sure why they were showing me those things, but, and when you wake up, that's realer than real.
We're talking about food. Do any of the aliens actually eat? Makes you wonder what kind of foods they eat. That's something that's crossed my mind sometimes,
I have never seen a mess hall.
Oh, right. So how do they survive then, I wonder?
I'm not sure. I think, when you think about the ones that are the more negative entities that you hear feed off of fear, it very well could be an energetic exchange. Or it could be something through the skin. Who knows? Maybe that is how they eat, is absorption through the skin. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, going back to that DNA thing again, there's something else that I find interesting, is when we've had the cattle mutilations or horse mutilations or even a few human mutilations, are they connected to collecting DNA, do you think? Or...
I have often wondered what the purpose of that was, and I'm not so sure. It just seems so rudimentary and not sophisticated as I think that they can be. And I know that they're still happening, the cattle mutilations.
Yeah, especially in your part of the country. There's a lot of cattle country around there, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't know what they're doing. I'm not sure it's DNA gathering, but it's anatomy exploration for sure.
Yeah. Because it seems like they leave no blood or very clean wounds, don't they? They seem to do.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what else to ask you. Tell us a bit more about your book, how you can get it. Is it available on Amazon?
It is. It is available through Amazon. I've got both the ebook and the paperback version out. The audio book is currently in production.
Oh, right. That should be good.
It has been finished. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. hopefully by the end of the year that will be released.
What year was it actually released? It's not been out long, I know, the book, is it?
No, it came out on June 16th of 2020. So
oh, right, so it's a very new one, yeah, okay. Well, when I'll put the link out on the Paranormal Dimensions page, so maybe you might sell a few more copies, so.
That'd be great.
Hope so. I'll do my best for you anyway. Anyway, well, it's been great having you on, Erin. Thank you very much for finding the time to tell us a bit about you and a bit about your alien experiences and the book and everything. It really sounds quite intriguing. I'm going to have to get myself a copy. Now, and I hope, say good luck with it, because I'm sure it does. I'm hoping everyone out there will go and buy a copy. But,
Christmas is coming up.
That's right, yeah. I mean, and considering we've all been locked away in our homes for the most of the year, and you just go on Amazon and, although some people don't like mentioning Amazon, but that's another story. But,
That's true.
But, I will put a link on it though anyway. Have you got a website or anything?
I do. I don't know how much longer that is going to be up, but, I'm thinking I need to shift things around and change things up a little bit, but I do have a website that I use. It is www.peoplesouterdimension.net. And on that website, you can go to the link for orb studies, and then you can see several of the videos that were taken in my bedroom at night. So you can see for yourself those strange things that float around my room. Right.
So, now, we can just touch on that a little bit. Now, what is your idea about orbs?
Well, I think there's many different types of orbs, and I think that they are just again, with interdimensional beings, whether they are spirits or ghosts or ETs, or whatever. I am finding that if, for example, I was clearing the house, sage and lavender oil water, just trying to remove negative energy because I could feel something in my home. And as I leave the bedroom and go into the next room, with the cameras in the bedroom, you can see me flip the light on in the other room, and there's an orb that leaves that room and comes into the bedroom like it's trying to hide from me. And then that night I was attacked through Dreamtime by like a ghost, and it was awful. But however, that was also captured on film, and it was a very large, slow-moving, transparent orb, that you will see oftentimes in ghost hunts and things like that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was there, and then, the physical evidence of the video plus my dream time made me say, that's a ghost. That's what ghosts look like.
Yeah.
And so that was helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen quite a lot of orbs myself. You've heard of Rendlesham Forest, no doubt, in England.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right, well, I've taken photos at night, and you can take a line of about 7 or 8 photos, and most of them come out black, but the odd 2 will come out with loads and loads of orbs in them, So,
oh, wow.
I mean, some people argue that it's dust or moisture droplets, but if that was the case, it would be on every picture, wouldn't it? On every photo. That's the way I look at it. Plus, a lot of these orbs are different colours and different sizes, and so I'm with you on that. I do believe there's something in the orbs,
Right. Yes. I do have several videos where I knew that my heater had kicked on, and you can see things swirling around. I'm like, okay, that's dust. Yeah. I see that.
Well, you see it on television as well. When you've got a light on, you can see all the dust in the light and everything, can't you?
Exactly. I even took a moth into my room and threw it up so I could see the patterns of what it would look like if it was an insect on the camera, So I've done those types of research. I'm sure there's many, many more experiments that can be done. But yeah, I have absolutely no explanation for the squares or the strange W-type shapes. I don't know what those are. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very strange and very interesting, I must say. Okay, right, well, I will let you go this time now. Just so you mentioned orbs, I thought we've got to cover that a little bit, because it's something that I've had quite a bit of experience with. So, anyway, once again, I shall put a link to your book on the page, and I should like to say thank you very much, Erin Montgomery, for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No, it's been a great pleasure talking to you, and stay in touch, and I hope to speak to you again. And
Wonderful.
I hope everyone out there enjoyed listening to Erin. I think it was really interesting.
Very good. I love doing shows like this. I'm having so much fun. No, I love the free-flowing conversations, not when it's just, here's a question, I want your answer, here's another question.
I hope to speak to you again sometime. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye, Erin. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right, thank you. Right, you've been listening to Paranormal Dimensions. I'm David Young, and that was Erin Montgomery, and a very interesting show. Thank you, and hope you join us again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Paranormal Dimensions is as bright and powerful as our celestial star, the sun. And although it's expending thousands of pounds of energy every minute of the day, have no fear. There's plenty left.
Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network.